What's going on, guys? Getting set up here. It's your boy XBenJamminx, DFSArmy. Gonna wait for some people to get in here, and then I'll start answering some questions, and I'll go through the RS and the DS for you. If you have any questions, make sure you're in the XBenJamminx chat. So you could ask the live questions. If you're not in there, I won't be able to see them because that's the only place that I will be looking for them. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the domination station for you guys. So I'm going to show you how I use it to make like the 150 lineups to kind of tweak and get what I'm looking for personally and what I want to see, you know, in terms of exposures, if I like somebody, if I don't, how I, will go around that and different things like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to head into the domination station. All right, let me show my screen real quick. Okay. So this is the domination station right here. And what we have is, DraftKings or FanDuel, whatever sports you want. But I'm going to be doing FanDuel MLB just because that's what we're focusing on now. So let me get set up here real quick. Okay, so I have my my phone open to the Slack so I could see what questions you guys are asking if you have any. All right, so when we're getting started like this, first of all, I don't like playing slates with this many games. So I probably wouldn't be doing this anyway. If I was going to play this slate, I would just run 150 and probably just load them in and not think much about them. But in this case, what you can do if you don't like certain games, you can click on the total to exit out if you want. I do that sometimes to kind of shorten it for myself, but let's just shorten this a little bit and we'll act as if it's only a couple of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do about 6 games. Just condense it a little bit so we can see things more clear. So you have a couple of pitchers here. You have Sale, Severino, DeGrom, Martinez. These are guys that are, I think, what is it? It's sorted by salary. So what you can do is you can go in and just sort it by fantasy points and see what it's getting. You could sort by value if you want. You could sort by DFSArmy grade. So if we're looking at this, DS has Sale 2.2 projected points higher, while we have DeGrom rated a little bit higher on the RS. So you can go with either of these guys. DeGrom's a higher favorite. Sale is facing New York, and they have pretty big power versus lefties. They don't K a ton, but they do have Stanton, who's been K'ing like 3 times a game. But so some of the things that I'll do like immediately is I'll sort it by this, and then I'll see, is there anyone that's projected high that has a bad rating? And we don't really see that. In the top 4, the lowest is 60, which isn't bad at all. And then we have right here, someone's asking me a question, sorry. We have right here, we have the DFSArmy grade. So what I'll usually do is sort this and then just uncheck the guys who aren't rated well. And I kind of really don't care like what they're projected at. I just kind of want to get whatever's in like these greenish zones. Sometimes I'll even go a little bit further than this and only use like the top 3 or 4 guys, but I kind of want to use Caleb Smith against the Mets today just because there's just an internal thing that we're watching with that. So doing this right away, you could just run optimize, see what you get. Actually, let's put it on 150. So I'll usually always start with just a basic everything regular settings and just run it and then see what we get, because I want to see how the ownership and the projections compare to what I have on the RS. And this is without specifically being looking at the RS like simultaneously. This is just a first run. I want to see what the DS is looking for. So, I mean, realistically, I would have done this before I got these guys out. So sorry about that. Let me just rerun this real quick. This is just straight up default. I just want to see what the DS is going to do without any input from me. So I could see, you know, if we agree on things, if there's something I want to change, if there's somewhere I want to go. While this is doing that, let me just check on these real quick. Blanco, Jack. That looks so good off the bat. All right. I usually just let this run just so I could check out where the exposures go before I make any kind of adjustments. So while we're letting that happen, let me just go here. So we got 2 p.m. games, 2 p.m. games. Okay. Oh, actually, no, we're not doing 2 p.m. Sorry. We're doing main. No, I messed up because I already got rid of teams. Sorry. Let's just keep going with this for now. So we have the 150. Sorry to be all over the place. We have the 150 here, and it looks like Flores 100%, Renfroe 100%, Story 97. I already know that Flores and Renfroe are highly rated on the RS, so that's good. Highest pitcher is C-Mart. Got a lot of Trout up there. So basically, I'm looking for anyone who comes in over like 100 lineups in my 150, and that's who the DS is heavy on for this day. And this is obviously with these teams checked off. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to do this for you just so there's no confusion because you want to see the full thing, right? I don't want to shortchange you. That's just kind of the way that I would do it. So let me just start this over, and then we could see same thing. So Story, Flores, Renfroe, Trout, Margot, right? So these are going to be the top guys. So now what I want to do is go into the pitchers and do what we did before, right? We have it sorted by fantasy points. There's no one really who's low rated up here. You have Severino, who's a 60. You got some 50s and 50s. So I basically want to get rid of anyone who's like a 40 rating. That's just the way that I personally do it. So I don't even want them showing up at all, right? So I'll bring this all the way up. Let's see how far we want to go with this. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not a bad pool right there. So if we look at projected, now we could see we'll go into my players. So that'll get rid of anyone who you don't have checked. You see how it like shows you the shorter pool? That's how I like looking at it. So right here we have sorted by projected points. There's no one less than a 50 rating. Usually, you want like maybe 60 or above, 70. Obviously, higher the better. But let's do it like this, and then I would run it again. But what I want to do now is put max exposures on the players. So I usually will start with about 60% and work my way down for everyone that isn't a pitcher, basically. So let's go here, and then we'll go 60%. And then, I'll just let the DS take care of itself, and it'll put some pitchers at 60. I usually go heavier on pitchers and then cycle my batters around, so I'll have the heaviest exposure to pitchers, but I will let some of the more GPP type players get filtered in there. So if we want to sort by fantasy points, let's get Anderson out of there. He's low projected. For today's sake, we're just going to get rid of Smith because that's not someone you really want in there. But I'm going to play him in a couple lineups later just to see how he does today. Then you have everybody here is basically projected for at least 30, right? So if you look at some of the value, you got Martinez and Nola. Optimizers fill in the value guys. So just because you have someone rated highly, like Sale, right, is rated 91. That's a good rating. 43 projected, highest projected. They're not going to slam him in for you just because in terms of value, he's not projected to be the most valuable pitcher in terms of like the salary. Valuable in terms of DFS, yeah, he'll be valuable for your lineup if he does well, but he may not hit, the 4X or whatever. But in baseball, you don't really need to be focusing on the salary and the value like that, but that's what an optimizer is going to do. So it's going to put in Martinez and it's going to put in Nola. So if we just rerun this at the 150 with 60 on, let's see the pitchers who it starts bringing in. So we got Strasburg, Martinez. It's interesting. Strasburg is fourth in terms of value, but it's jamming him in there. Martinez, DeGrom, 60%. So it's going to cap off Strasburg. Let's see what it does. I'm surprised we're not getting any Sale at all. So what I would do is say, all right, if I'm not going to be getting any Chris Sale here, and let's say, you know, he's someone that I really do want to play today. You know, I really haven't looked into things. I'm a little more scared of the Yankees than, you know, most people would be. Sale he's a really dangerous pitcher, but I'm a Yankee fan, so it's a tough conundrum for me whenever you get people who are really good against the team, because I always think Yankees are going to do well. But let's say I want to force him in because we're really not getting him. So let's abort. Now it might have threw him in someone you know, later lineups in the bottom, but I really want to make sure he kind of gets in there. So one of the things that you can do is you can bump up these projections in here, but I don't want to have to worry about that right now. I'm just going to say, you know, you're not putting him in any lineups. I want to jam him into like 15%. And then say, all right, well, I know DeGrom's the highest rated, so let's get him in at least 15. You know, it'll probably have him in there more, but it's just saying I don't want him in any less than that. And Chris Sale, it's saying I want him in at least that. So DeGrom's already being put in there, right? So right now he's actually at 15%. It would probably go a little bit higher than that, but it's saying jam in these top two guys for me, max them out at 60%, and then see what else kind of trickles in there. Now, this is probably going to be a little higher than I want. So with Sale, I'm going to say at least 15 and at most, or you know what, at least 10 and at most 15. I don't really want him in a bunch of them, but 10% of 150, I'll have him in what, 15? No, we could do 15 and 20. I don't mind that. So let's say, you know, DeGrom, I don't want him in any more than this, but I want him in no less than 15. And it's kind of the opposite wording for Sale. It's I want him in at least 15 of these, and don't jam him in too much. Which probably won't. They'll probably just put him in like 15%. So then I'll run this. These are the top two guys, right? So then I'll run this and see who kind of filters in around them in terms of the batters, who filters in around them in terms of the other kind of complementary pitchers. You know, you probably get C-Mart, some Nola, some Strasburg. And if I'm sorting by rating, I actually, you know, I don't mind Corbin. Who did we have last night? What was it? Bradley? Was Bradley last night against San Francisco? Did really well. C-Mart versus Milwaukee. I don't mind that. Heavy favorite. Got good stuff. Good strikeout stuff. So I don't mind these guys coming in. Really, like anyone on this list, I don't mind if they're put into my lineup. So you'll see here, you'll see the exposure's increasing. You may not even get any of these guys at 60, but I want to have a good batch of these strong pitchers going today. And then let's see what happens if there's 150. So someone in the chat just asked me, how do you determine if it's a hitter's park or not? So on the FanDuel, on the research sheets, you go here to the park. And when you're looking at batters, you're going to see, you know, green is always good, right? So we have over here, you're looking at the park rank. The lower number, the better. So number 1 means the best hitter's park. The park factor, you're looking at the highest park factor. And then if you do the opposite for pitchers, you'll see here that the lower number is worse for pitchers. So this is the number 1 hitter's park. You don't want that. Well, I mean, yeah, you basically don't want that, to be pitching in Colorado. But you know, when you start getting away from the top like 2 or 3, then you really can have people in hitters parks. So you don't have to be completely scared off, but you should try to not focus on them. So for pitchers, you want the higher rank, the better. For batters, you want the lower rank. So we got 150 here, and if we're looking at this, it's fit in a lot of Strasburg, 36%. That's probably more than I want personally. Not a terrible rating. We have a 41 projection, so that's why he's projected actually even more than DeGrom. He's a heavy favorite, rated at 65. So in terms of the DS, they're gonna try and fit him in there. Now for me, it's putting him in 36. I don't want him to be my most owned guy. So Now I know that with the other adjustments I made, he's at 36. I'm going to have to limit him to lower than that, right? So I'm going to say Strasburg, I want no more than 20%. Let's run it again. So I'll keep making these small adjustments. And then, you know, like I always say, I go and I try to choose my pitchers first. I want to know who I'm building around, and then I'll figure out, you know, the batters based on which pitchers to target. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see, we did Snell 2K. All right, come on. While this is running, let's get another one. Let's get another one. Oh, you wanted to swing. I know he wanted to swing. I saw it. We got here. Nothing going yet. All right, come on. When choosing a pitcher, what are the stats you look at most? Okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. I want this guy to swing. I really do. I'm going to get Super Mayo. I'm going to get to your question in a second, but I do see it, and I'm looking at it right now. I have my phone open. Come on. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is testifying right now live in front of Congress. Started at 2. I'm going to go back and watch it later. Just need the K here. K time. K time. Let's go, Snell. Let's go, boy. That's how we do it. Getting me anxious. All right, this needs to move a little bit quicker. For some reason, you know, when I have all this different stuff open, especially when I have videos open, the DS flags on my computer personally say, oh, it went from like 110 to 150. All right, so let's see. We have the same guys. Good. Carlos Martinez, he's being jammed in there at 42%. So I don't really want that much Martinez either. I want a little bit more DeGrom. It's not giving me enough DeGrom personally. So I'm going to say I want DeGrom in 20. I know right there that it's putting Martinez in 40. So I'm going to limit that to about 30 because I like him today. You know, I don't mind him. Decent rating, good projection. He's not the top rated guy. So, you know, I want to make sure these guys are getting in. But when I'm MMEing, you know, I want exposure to more than just 1 or 2 pitchers. So, oh, man, love that. What happened there? Love that third K, baby. What is that? Contreras and Brian and all these dudes. Right. So we got that running. So now here, let me get back to your question. We had, when choosing a pitcher, what are the stats you look at most? So while that's running, let's go to the pitchers tab. Right here, we got very first thing I obviously do is look at the grade, just because that's, you know, something I made to try and give you the best overall matchup of the day. Now in baseball, you could have a great matchup and not do well. You could have a bad matchup and do well. So we're looking to try and get the best spots over a long-term basis. You know, if you look at small sample size, like this happened today, it doesn't mean it's going to happen every time. So, you know, when you have a really good pitcher get blown up in an outing or something, you can't get mad at it. It's baseball. It's going to happen. But we're trying to put ourselves in the best position every day. So that's why I have these to guide me. So instead of me looking like, all right, this guy has a good ISO, he has an okay this, he has a good that, this just takes it all together. So this good rating, what this is doing, it's saying, give me all the good factors that this pitcher has going for him. So if you don't care about his blow up factor and, you know, what can go wrong, if you just sort by good, this gives you a good indication of who has a lot of things going for them. But like someone like Tyler Anderson pitching in Colorado, you know, San Diego isn't a great team, but in Colorado, they can obviously put up some numbers against lefties in that kind of park setting. So the most important things for me are K percentages. Now, I definitely want to know, you know, what the matchups are looking like, but the most important for me, I want to know if my guy can get strikeouts. So I did a whole video on this in terms of like how to use it for the pitcher. So I definitely recommend going in there. But if there were a couple of things I had to boil it down to, it would be K percentage versus hand and swinging strike percentage for the batter. And then the same thing for the pitcher. So that's where I put a lot of the weight on. I consider those very highly important. So now we have our 150 here. Let's go to pitcher. Still got these same 4. So do I want to work in some of these other guys? Maybe. You know, it's a possibility. But if after these these additions and these max exposures and stuff like that, if I'm not getting any of them, maybe I don't really even want them. Or if I do, I'll put on like, you know, a minimum couple of percentage points or something. But let's just go with these are going to be our guys today. Pretty evenly spread out. You know, there isn't really someone I want a lot of compared to the others. You know, I'm not going 60% on any of these guys because I do think that all of these guys can hit, you know, 35 to 45 points. So I do agree with these projections, and I don't think you need to really go much lower than that because on a slate this big, there's always going to be value to fill out whatever pitchers you want. Ooh, what's going on here? Oh man, this is killing me not watching that. So we have, I'll go position by position. We have, what is 1%? So we have Chirinos in 1 of 150 lineups as the only catcher. I don't like that. I actually like having catchers. Our ratings usually do pretty well with catchers, and people tend to avoid them, especially in this format. So I don't like that they combined first baseman and catchers because we always did really well with catchers. But it looks like it's jamming in first baseman. There's a lot of Flores. Davis is in a good matchup, has good BVP. So let's say I don't really like the percentages I'm getting here. It's loading some people up a little higher than I want. So let's go line by line, and we'll say, all right, who don't I want as much as Devon Travis? I want to limit him. He's at 57. And now this has nothing to do with stacks, guys. I could show you how to run the stacks after. I'm just showing you if I'm going to do 150 lineups, you know, not doing any stacks. This is just the way that I approach it. I obviously, you know, I'll usually do a little bit more buckets where I'll do, you know, 50 lineups of this or 20 lineups of that and kind of lock things in. So I'm just showing you how I would approach the standard 150 lineups. So with Devon Travis, instead of me changing his projection, because I don't really ever want to mess with those too much myself for MLB personally. I don't usually go by projections, but if I'm going to use any kind of projections, I want them to be what Keith set up. I'm not going to be really changing those. But the way that I will put my input in is I'll search Control F for Travis. I'll say, I want this guy in way less than 60% of lineups. That's 85 of 150. I want him in probably half that. So I'll put this guy at 30. And then I'll just rerun it again. So literally every time I make, you know, I do something different, I rerun it. So that's a little, you know, it might get a little tiring to do it that way, but that's how I've found that, you know, I really get things to even out the way that I want. So right here, Story's getting just completely jammed in. So right off the bat, I already know I don't want him being completely jammed in like that. So with Story, I'll probably lower him a little bit because I want a little more exposure to other guys. So this is the way that I'll approach things. I'll put him at 40. I'll just keep lowering and lowering or raising just based on kind of what I'm looking for. You know, I don't ever really want too heavy exposure to too many people. You know, I don't mind getting a core of players who are put in, but I don't want, you know, every guy to be, you know, them trying to fit in a bunch of them. So you'll see there's going to be a lot of San Diego guys in Colorado, things like that. So then I'm just going to pause this here because it doesn't really matter at this point because I'm not using these. Now, if you want to upload them, I did a video earlier, but if you want to do it, I'll just show you real quick what FanDuel and DraftKings does. So if you go, what is this, lineups here, and you click on edit entries or upload lineups. Upload lineups is if you just want to throw a bunch of lineups in without anything, and edit entries is if you want to, you know, mass multi-mass entries. So they don't have anything open right now, which is interesting. Wait, did I? Oh, I was in, I don't have anything upcoming. So let's say I'm just gonna do something here because I didn't show this earlier. I'm just gonna throw something in random. Where's like a $1? Do a free thing real quick. So reserve this. All right, so let's go and edit lineups. We have MLB Classic. You'll download this you'll click this, and this will be where you get your lineups. All right, so whatever lineups you had, you would paste it into here. Whatever you got from the domination station, you would just paste it right here. It would be from here to here, and you would save it, and then you would just go click upload, and right there. Now, for me, I don't have anything going, so it doesn't matter, but that's how you would do it. It's nice and easy. So I showed the FanDuel one earlier. Showed this. So here, let me get into some stacks. So another question from Nike Ninja. If you're one lineup type and not mass multi-entry, would you mess around with the exposure the same? If you're just doing one lineup, there's no need to touch any exposure just because you're only running that one lineup. So it's going to give you, the best projected. But I always recommend having at least 3. I wouldn't be running this as like one optimal lineup or something like that. I would just put this back at 100. So I wouldn't run it as just one like this. I would run it, always have 3. So you could just look and compare them to each other. Usually the way I do is I'll just take whichever one has $0 left over because I'm an OCD freak like that. But like, yeah, let's see. If you wanted to use, the DS based on just the pictures that I put in, I didn't, all the exposures at 100%. This would be just the pool of pitchers that I have in, Strasburg, Flores, Travis, Moustakas, Story, Trout, Margot, Perella, Renfro. So this has, Flores versus a lefty. It has Moustakas in a good matchup. Then you have Story and all these guys in Colorado. So this is a good lineup. So, I mean, if you're playing today, I wouldn't mind running that. In the stacks tab on RS, what are some good stats to determine if it's a good team to stack? You look at the average grade or average diamond. So if I'm looking at the stacks tab, the first thing I do is just look to see which ones are like the heavy green, because right away that kind of points out to you who you should at least be considering. So the first thing I'll do is I just click on the team name, because when you click on one of these, it opens up a bunch of them. So it's just a little sloppier. So I'll look at this and I'll say, all right, this is Chicago. So I can click on Chicago and then do that. And then you have this all lined up for you. So right here, I'll say, all right, in terms of the grade in the WOBA, you have, let's see, Rizzo, you have Schwarber, and you have Bryant and Happ. Actually, all these guys are basically above 80. So if we're looking here, you have, let's see, these two. This is actually a pretty good stack, almost top to bottom. So I would probably use any one of these guys, and it doesn't matter to me really which 4 or 3 that you use, in my opinion. It's really just about like just getting these guys into your lineups, because Bryant versus righty is good. You have Schwarber. He has an okay WOBA, but his ISO is incredible. Same thing with Happ. So I mean, these top 4, they're gonna be in play. And let's see, you go here, then we'll look at. Wait, sorry, let me collapse this. Right click here under the SP hand, and you can do collapse entire field. So then I'll say, all right, which one's, well, that was in the early slate, Chicago. So that's why I'm heavy on Chicago today. And then who's this? This is LA versus Martin Perez. So let's click on Angels, go here, look at the grade. You got top 4 all in play. Even Rene Rivera, which is interesting. He's a righty. He's cheap, 2,300. Marte. So if these guys are playing, then those are good complements to a stack where you have an expensive guy. You have these 2 kind of mid-tier price players, but then you have expensive and cheap. So they actually complement each other well in this stack. Do I mind if you go these other guys? No, not at all. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I look mostly at grade, but then I'll compare like, all right, Shimp has the power matchup. These guys have the WOBA matchup. And then you kind of just compare like, all right, maybe I want a couple of WOBA guys and a power guy or something like that. It's kind of up to you. Maybe you want, someone with only like high ratings or high barrels per plate appearance. It's really up to the way you use it. But I kind of just usually try to stick with grades because I've already done the work before this. So, I don't want to put in too much manual work and just kind of let the numbers dictate it for me. Yeah, no problem, bro. Hope it helps. So players listed in the stack section. So in the stack section, you have the team names in alphabetical order. There's nothing I can do about that. I wish I could fix that and just sort it by grade, but I can't. But when you open it up, that's when the players themselves are sorted by grade. So if you look, every time you open it, it's going to list the grade, the highest grades first. So it's showing you like which of the guys in the stack you should probably be targeting. Let's do a check here. Got one on the board. What happened? All right, I gotta check DK Live real quick. We got Tampa Bay up 2-0. Sorry guys, it's killing me not to know the play-by-play. I usually watch every single pitch of every game that I can. Let's see. I just want to look at the plays. So we got Schwarber single, Bryant scored. Contreras single, Bryant single. Wendell single, Robertson scored. Nice, I got some of him. And Dickerson singled. Let's see, nice. So Rays are still at bat, and we have Cubs pitching. Okay. Well, who's at bat here? Cervelli. I don't really have a lot of him, so I don't care. Let me go back to the chat. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to write them here. Not Chan. If you don't, then don't mind. I will just get back to watching baseball. But I'll just explain a couple of things real quick in case you aren't aware. When you're using the top 10, I like to do this, and I'll go by game time. Like if there's an earlier slate or something, so select multiple, you could click out of that, go 2 p.m., 2 p.m. This is what I was doing this morning. And then sometimes I'll literally just build a lineup like that. Like I'll put in my top pitcher, I'll just put in Snell and then go, all right, Schwarber, Bryant, Happ, Listella's not playing, Abreu versus Snell. I have actually in a couple of my GPP lineups, I have Abreu versus Snell. Let's say Snell goes 5 or 6 innings, has 6 or 7 Ks, gets a quality start, maybe not even a win, but let's say he does that. And then once he gets out, Abreu hits a home run off the bullpen in an okay hitter's park. Like those are kind of things I look forward. So in GPP, I don't even mind if you put guys against your own pitcher on small slates. In larger slates, you just don't need to. But on small slates, I don't really have a problem with that. I wouldn't stack 4 guys against, but one lineup I have 3 White Sox against Snell in a. Let me see. Actually, I think I have it in one of my $12 lineups. Let's see. Is this it? Snell? No, that's Snell with Pittsburgh. You know what? I'll just open these lineups up for you. Might as well just go through them while we're doing this. All right, so let's see. That's 12, 25, 12, 33. Okay, those are all the bigger ones. So this is the 12. This is a Snell stack with, this is Snell with, they're real. I wasn't really going for stacks with this one, but I ended up with Avasale and Abreu. So this is an instance I don't even really mind, right? Like you'll see on 2-game slates, I don't mind doing stuff like that. So you have this isn't a full stack, but I got a little White Sox against Snell, thinking that no one else is really going to be doing that. Then we got, this is a $25 one. This is the only one I use Nova in, I think. So yeah, there's Snell, and then there's Snell. Yeah, so I went 3 big lineups with Snell and 1 with Nova. And then in this one, I did Pittsburgh, 3 and 3 with Chicago, and then 2 White Sox and a Tampa. So these were just little 3-man stacks with 1 and 1. This is a 3-1-1 stack. Then you have over here, let's see, this is Snell with only Pittsburgh and Chicago. And then this is same thing, Snell with only Pittsburgh and Chicago, but a different stack. So if we go into the $4 ones, let's see. One of these, I know I did 3 Chicago batters. White Sox batters. Yeah, this one right here. So this one I did Snell, and then I have Abreu, Avasale, and Castillo. This was probably the last lineup I built just because I wanted to get a little funky. I have a ton of Pittsburgh and Chicago today, so I don't really have a lot of White Sox at all. I wanted to get at least a couple of pieces of them in, one of the big tournament entries, just because, I don't think other people are doing that. So that's why I do that. Wellington Castillo, 12% owned on a 2-game slate, batting in the 5 hole. I kind of like that. So I do it as a way to hedge. I have certain lineups with hedge. Like this is a hedge lineup right here. I have Nova instead of Snell, and then I have a couple of these White Sox guys. So that's the way that I like to kind of hedge my bigger entries there. So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask me in the chats. But for now, with no other questions coming in, I'm going to sign off. All right, guys, hope this helped. Let me get out of here.